Recording. All right. Thank you everyone for being here tonight. You are in for a treat, I think. I'm excited about this one. So really quick, just remember to keep your cameras on so we can see your beautiful faces. Keep yourselves muted so that your background noise does not interfere with the presentation unless you have a question or Dr. Aguirre asks you a question or asks you to unmute, then you're more than welcome to do that then. But if you have some stuff going around in your house, like a dog that might bark, let's try to keep ourselves muted then. But without further ado, Dr. Aguirre, if you could introduce yourself and tell us what you're here for, and I'm going to mute myself and let it roll. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sandy. My name is Edmunds Aguirre, and I am the college counselor at Notre Dame High School, where students call me Dr. Aguirre. And I was asked to provide a session this evening, a workshop, as you call it with Rise Up, on what are the post-secondary education options that are after high school. So the topic after high school, what's next? And oops, there we go. Sorry, very sensitive mouse. What we're going to talk about tonight are what are post-secondary options, right? Some of you, I think, are probably in high school, and you may not even be familiar with that word post-secondary, but you're in secondary school. And so post-secondary is just that time after secondary school. Talk about the difference between diploma, certificate, and degree programs. What do those all mean? What are some different educational delivery options, which if I talked about that 2 years ago, you might have been really confused, but I think now, having been through the COVID pandemic, you're familiar with the variety of educational delivery options that can exist. Talk kind of at a high level of the process for admissions, financial aid, and enrollment. And I've got time allotted for questions, but I am absolutely happy to answer any questions during this time. So I right now have the speaker view on. So don't hesitate to ask your question, or Sandy, if you see that somebody has a question, let me know. But next, I wanted to just do some introductions so I can know who I'm speaking with, who is on our Zoom meeting this evening. So if you would share your first name, maybe what grade you are in school, and what your thoughts are about post-secondary options. Like what are you thinking you might do after high school? And I will start with Miss Allie.
Okay, so I'm Allie. I'm in 10th grade, and I don't necessarily know where I want to go to college or what I want to do in college, but I do know I want to go to college.
Awesome. Well, that is great. Thank you, Allie. And I am a huge believer that you don't have to know what you want to study, and you don't have to know what career path you want to still be able to find a really good college fit. What's most important is what you end with. You know that you want to go to college, right? And right now, you shouldn't need to know where you want to go to college, because you kind of have to think about why you want to go to college first, and then that helps figure out where you might choose to apply. All right, awesome kid.
My name's Grace, and I'm in 9th grade, and all I really know specifically is that I just want to keep learning stuff, forever.
That's awesome, Grace. You sound like a lifelong learner already in the 9th grade. So that is super awesome. And so, college is a great place to learn, but you can continue to learn outside of an educational system. And, that's something to think about. What are different ways in your life that you want to continue to learn, even once you get out of college? So that's awesome. All right, Blake and Jake. We'll go with Blake first, because B is before Jake in the alphabet.
I'm Blake. I'm in 9th grade, and I want to go to UTK and study business management and get an MBA.
Awesome. Great. Thank you, Blake. How do you feel about the color orange?
It's my favorite color.
Good answer. All right, Jake, how about you?
My name's Jake, and I don't know what I want to do after high school yet.
Okay, I think it was hard to hear you, but I think you said you don't know what you want to do after high school yet. Is that right? Okay.
Yes.
And what grade are you in, Jake?
In 10th.
10th grade. Okay. Yeah, it's okay. Well, tonight we're going to talk about what are some possible options that you can do after high school. All right.
There's one more kid. You
Oh,
probably
there's
can't
one
see
more. Oh,
the
great.
icon. Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Thank you. Sorry, my little grid was wasn't showing you. All right. Hi, Izzy. How are you doing this evening?
Good. So my name's
So-
Izzy. I'm in 7th grade and I haven't really thought about it.
Well, tonight you're going to learn some options to think about. And I love the cross wall behind you. My husband and I have a cross wall back that way in our house too. So that's great. All right. Well, I think it's always a good idea to keep your options open. Okay. And I like this chart because after high school, what's next? Well, there's lots of different options. I think this graphic highlights the majority of them. College, right? I specifically, my background, I'm a college counselor now at Notre Dame High School, but for 25 years, I worked at colleges and universities. A lot of that was working in the admissions or enrollment management office. So I've spent a lot of my career helping college students navigate the process. Military is an option. Some folks will join the military straight out of high school. You can enlist straight out of high school. In other cases, students may want to choose an ROTC program where you Reserve Officer Training Corps. That's what ROTC stands for, where you go to college and ROTC is going to help you pay for college. And then you join the military after college, but you join as an officer. So you have greater responsibilities, greater privileges as an officer than an enlisted person. Maybe you're going to go straight to the job market, right? Excuse me. Maybe you just want to go straight to working a particular job. University, maybe you want to go to a big university like the University of Tennessee, Knoxville, like somebody wants to study business there. And then there's even apprenticeships where you are going to learn a very particular skill, a trade skill, alongside an experienced professional to be able to go into that particular trade. So all of those are options. Any other options that you all can think of that might not be included in these possible ones? No? Okay. Well, my background is education. So while there are a number of different post-secondary options, tonight I'm really going to focus on those post-secondary education options. And I would really categorize those options in two places. The community colleges, where you can get an associate's degree or trade or certification programs. And are all of you in the Chattanooga area? I didn't ask that location-wise. But I'm going to use, yes, okay, great. I'm going to use for examples, Chattanooga State Community College. It's one of the 13 community colleges in the state of Tennessee, and that offers associate's degrees as well as diploma and certificate programs. And then our local four-year college, the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga, where you can earn a bachelor's degree or some additional graduate degree programs, master's and doctoral degree programs, right? So we'll come back to, I've got those websites bookmarked, so we'll come back to looking at some of those specific options here that are locally. But when you think of the variety of post-secondary education options, you can have the community college system and then the more four-year college system. That I clicked on that. All right. So benefits of a college degree. All right. So this is a participatory part. What do y'all think some of the benefits of a college degree include? Blake?
Being able to get a better job.
Being able to get a better job. Absolutely. Grace.
Well, it's a standard, like, I mean, it's a standard. So when you have a certain degree, then it kind of outlines what everybody else is going to expect you to know to make sure that you know what you're supposed to, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. And now what that means that is up for question. But yeah, there are a lot of jobs that say you need a bachelor's degree, right? And many of them don't really, they may say it's preferred in these subject areas, but really the minimum requirement for that job is a bachelor's degree. And your options expand dramatically when you have that bachelor's degree. What are some other benefits of a college degree? I know there's one more that at least somebody's got to think about. Yes, Allie?
A sense of independence.
Yeah, right. Personal, independence, transitioning out of your parents and your family home, right? Any other ideas? No? All right, I'll tell you what I came up with. So a college degree can prepare you for a specialized career. There are a number of careers that specifically require a bachelor's degree, and in some cases even higher. Everything from medicine and law that require graduate degrees, pharmacy and physical therapy graduate degrees, but even a BSN in nursing. So you can have some plans for a very specific career, accounting. Increase access to job opportunities, right? That has already been addressed as a bonus. I can't believe nobody mentioned the increased earning potential, that you get paid more when you have a bachelor's degree. Usually that's what a lot of people think about, right? Okay, I see some smiles. You recognize that, right? People with college degrees have a pathway to advancement to further their career more quickly than others who don't, right? You may start at an entry-level job, but you may work through to upper ranks of management more quickly than those without a college degree. You might be interested to know that individuals with a college degree have higher job satisfaction. They are happier with the jobs that they are doing. The networking opportunities. Now, what y'all are in high school, so let me ask, what do you think I mean when I say networking opportunities? It's kind of an adult word. Okay, so has anybody heard about maybe your parents or your parents' friends going to an alumni reunion, a college reunion, right? Or maybe you, for example, I did graduate school at the University of Alabama. And if you know anything about the University of Alabama, they kind of have a saying. Does anybody know what that is? That people that are Alabama fans like to say? It's Roll Tide, by the way. And so you can go Google that and learn more about that. But when you see somebody wearing a sweatshirt or a hat, right, from that college, right, it's a networking, it's an opportunity to start a conversation with that person. Oh, for me, as I have moved, I went to college in Nashville, and then I moved to St. Louis, and then I moved to San Antonio, and then I moved here to Chattanooga. It was an opportunity for me to meet other people in those cities that went to the college I went to, right? So that was a networking opportunity. And then, as Allie pointed out, the personal growth, right? So those are all benefits of a college degree. This is a chart, though, that I wanted to specifically show you that talks about the financial benefit of a college degree. Okay, so let's explain what this means, because there's a lot of pieces of information. On the x-axis here, we have time, right? Back here, back when I was born, all the way up to where we are today. Here, we have dollars in salary and annual wages, okay? So if you just have a high school degree and you follow this sort of pinkish red line, that's about the average salary for those with just a high school degree. But when you have a college degree, look how much higher it is, right? And this blue bar is down here. That's what they're calling this wage premium. So this blue bar represents the distance between this point. Oops. Okay, I realize I can't touch it. I can't click it here, but this point and this point, right? So for example, here, it's a pretty narrow wage difference, but you see how the gap between the college wages and the high school wages grew, right? So it made it even more significant benefit to actually have a bachelor's degree. Okay, so let's talk about these different educational options. When you hear the word degree, a college degree, the most common college degrees are going to be an associate's degree or a bachelor's degree. An associate's degree is going to be a 2-year degree. You hear that, that's where the community college system, or sometimes you even hear them called a 2-year college, versus a bachelor's degree, which is a 4-year degree. So you might hear that called a 4-year college. And again, to use the example, Chattanooga State Community College awards associate's degrees. University of Tennessee at Chattanooga awards bachelor's degrees. And in either of those areas, you're going to choose an area of study. It could be like Blake is interested in business. For an associate's or a bachelor's, it's going to be at least 2 years, maybe 4 for the bachelor's degree. And as we've also already talked about, there's some jobs that require either an associate's degree or even require a bachelor's degree, which meaning that if you don't have that bachelor's degree, you're not even eligible to apply for that job. They're not going to consider you. Regardless of what you major in, your bachelor's degree is preparing you for a multitude of careers, right? So for those of you that love to learn, like Grace, right? Employers are really looking for people who know how to learn. They know how to learn new skills, new methods of communication, right? They are looking for people that can come in and learn the ropes of their particular industry. So there's a lot of different examples, business, nursing, engineering, but that's kind of what the degree level is, right? So when you hear somebody say, oh, I went to college, it's most likely going to be an associate's degree or a bachelor's degree. They went to college. A certificate, all right? Certificates, there are undergraduate certificates and there's also even graduate certificates. But a certificate, you're going to complete a certain number of classes and training in a particular area. These days, there's some popular cybersecurity certificates. Anybody know what cybersecurity is all about? Yeah? Anyone? No? You know how you have to log in and you have to enter a password, and sometimes you have to use the multi-factor authentication, and you have to go to your phone and you get a text message to verify that it's really indeed you that is logging in. So cybersecurity is the idea of securing, protecting this cyber virtual world, protecting all the virtual information, which could be your passwords, your banking, financial information, right? As opposed to security of a piece of property, or like a house or a school. Certificates generally completed in under a year, right? It depends upon how fast or how slow you go. But one can earn a certificate without ever having a degree, right? So you don't have to go to associate's degree or bachelor's degree to be able to have a certificate. So sometimes you may add it on to a degree because you want a very specific skill set. Diplomas are similar to a certificate, but they are going to include a lot more hands-on experience in a very specific field. They are also going to usually take a little bit longer, right? Usually maybe about a 9 to 12 month process. And if you know that you want to enter a field that doesn't require a college degree, it's a much more cost-effective way to get the skills and training you need and then go directly into working in in that particular profession of interest. Okay, so before we go into educational delivery options, what questions do you have about differences between college degrees, diplomas, certificates? Any? No? Okay. So educational delivery options, all right? So think of traditional school, right? What's the very traditional educational delivery option? How has your education traditionally been delivered to you in school? What does that look like? Allie, what did that look like for you last year?
I'm not 100% understand the question.
Okay, so when you got an education last year, right, at Notre Dame High School, were you in person?
No, I was virtual most of the
Oh,
year.
you were virtual. Okay, so there you go. All right, but some of your classmates were in person.
Yeah.
So, all right, so already we know there's like in person, right? Some of us, you're in person this year because I see you in the hallways, right? But last year you were online, right? You were an online student. There are two words that are on here that you might not be familiar with: synchronous and asynchronous. Synchronous means at the same time. So Allie, at Notre Dame High School, if you were an at-home learner last year, you were a synchronous learner because at the same time that there were students sitting in a class at Notre Dame High School, you were sitting on Zoom or Teams participating, right? At the same time. It might have been, all right, this is the 10:30 to 11:45, right? Whatever those time blocks were. Asynchronous is an online delivery option where people are taking classes at very different times. So here we are right now, we are participating in a synchronous learning opportunity, right? We are all, we're all in Chattanooga, we're all in Eastern time that started at 7 p.m. and we're all engaging live. But there's actually some degree programs that are asynchronous. So all of the content that you're going to learn, it's in an online site and it's sort of chunked into weeks, right? Here's week 1 content, here's week 2 content, here's week 3 content. But rather than telling you, show up on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 10 a.m., you choose when you go online. Maybe you go online at 10 p.m. one night, and then maybe the next day you get online at 3 p.m. If you choose whatever time you want. So, but you're engaging with the content, you may be emailing back and forth with your professor, but everyone in the class is doing their coursework at different times. And so there are courses, they're total degree programs where you can go to college and it's asynchronous, right? So you're not sitting live where you can see those people, either on Zoom or in a classroom setting. Hybrid, does anybody know what the word hybrid means? Right? It's a combination, right? You heard of hybrid cars, right? Hybrid cars that use both battery power and gasoline power. So a hybrid college degree is going to be some in person and some online. Okay, so there's some programs that you can do both. So in a high school setting, pretty much you're mostly doing daytime classes, right? Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m., kind of the daytime. A lot of college degree programs, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to maybe 4 or 5 p.m. But some degree programs, they're evening classes, right? Some of them are weekends. My graduate school program, I had classes on weekends, right? And so you probably think in semesters or quarters, right? Because that's how your learning has been blocked up. Some diplomas actually work on clock hours. So rather than saying, oh, how many you need 4 semesters to complete this program, they're going to say you need 250 clock hours, right? So clock, the clock starts at 1 and it comes up to 2, that's 1 clock hour. So Allie, how did you like your online synchronous learning last year? How would you describe that experience?
I hated it.
Why did you hate it?
Well, I'm a very social person, so like I like interacting with other humans, but also because the teacher was either focused on me and the rest of the class was goofing off, or the rest of the class was being taught and I was just sitting there.
Yeah. So I thank you for sharing your experience, Allie. A lot of people really prefer in person for that very reason, right? That you talked about, the social, you like to be around people, right? Unfortunately, COVID made some of that really difficult, but when you get to choose, right, in a hopefully future normal world, a lot of people choose to go to college and go to class in person because of that. Yes, Grace.
I go to online school right now.
Yeah.
And I have synchronous and asynchronous classes. And I really like it, but like all of us are online, you know? So I guess it's different from Allie because like we're all in the same classroom and everything, not all separate like that. And I think I also like it because it's, you know, not like you don't have to go and everything. And it doesn't take as long because like in between classes, I'm not like stuck at school someplace, like talking to people. I can like, you know, sit around and do nothing and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So just, it can be good when it's not all makeshift and stuff.
Awesome. I appreciate that perspective, Grace. So, you know, the strength of the American system of education is its diversity. We have nearly 4,000 different colleges in this country. There are four-year colleges, two-year colleges. Some of them are single sex. Some of them focus just on arts programs. Some of them focus on engineering. They're historically Black colleges and universities. They're Hispanic serving institutions, small private liberal arts colleges, very, very, very large, 60,000 students, all right. So, and everyone is going to have a better fit, right? Allie once was going to prefer being in school, right? Grace is comfortable and okay with the being online virtual, right? So that's one of the blessings of the options that exist in this country, is that there are many ones that are going to fit you, but it's also one of the challenges because it means you have to navigate all of these complex different options to try to figure out which is going to be the best option for me.
There is a
now,
question in the
yes.
chat. If you want to wait, or do you want me to go ahead and give it to you?
No, go for it. Go for
Okay.
it. I didn't have the chat option visualized. So please, thank you for sharing.
You're welcome. They sent it to just me, and it says, so diplomas and certificates are offered at colleges as well as degrees, as a question.
Oh, are they? Yes. So, and for example, we can even jump there for just a second since the question has been raised to look at Chattanooga State Community College, right? So here's the website. You all can see this, right? Chattanooga State Community College, degrees. No, you can't. Allie says she can't see it.
We see your PowerPoint.
Okay, so let me stop sharing and switch to, there we go. Thank you. Sorry, I haven't had done, everybody sees this guy with the backpack and it looks like the library in Chattanooga State.
Still your PowerPoint.
Oh, hold on.
There we go.
There we go. Okay.
Yep.
Sorry about that. Okay. So this is Chattanooga State, their website, degrees and certificates. Here is their kind of degree key. So these AA, the Associate of Arts, Associate of Fine Arts, these are those associate degrees, 2-year, what you would think of as a 2-year degree. This Tennessee transfer pathway option is, let's say that rather than your goal just being to get a 2-year degree, you want to get a 4-year degree. You want to transfer to UTC, you want to transfer to UTK or some other 4-year degree, especially if it's within the state of Tennessee. It'll tell you what classes you can take at Chattanooga State that will transfer to apply towards that four-year degree. And when it comes to things like the Tennessee Promise, which is a last dollar scholarship that guarantees you 2 years of free college tuition at any of the 13 community colleges and 27 colleges of applied technology in the state of Tennessee, that could be a really good option. And then you see these diploma listing, the College of Applied Technology, and certificates, right? So all of these are offered at Chattanooga State. And then when I scroll down, you're going to start to see some of the options. So here we are in the School of Business at Chattanooga State. These are all different associate's degrees, everything from economics, accounting, entrepreneurship, journalism. But then there's a paralegal certificate that's in the School of Business. Okay. So then with the engineering and information technologies, we have a lot of associate's degree options, some different engineering options. And then we have, I'm scrolling down to get some certificate options, right? So these, some of the classes that are in this certificate, for example, this advanced welding automation certificate, some of the classes that are in this welding certificate will go towards the welding engineering technology concentration of this degree, but not all, right? So humanities and fine arts. So here we are at Chattanooga. So hopefully to answer the question, yes, there are colleges like Chattanooga State that offer degrees, in this case, associate degrees and diplomas and certificates. Does that answer the question? Whoever asked it? Yeah? Okay. So all right. Are we back to my slides now? Great. All right. Okay. So let's say that you want to apply to one of these programs, right? You want to continue learning and you want to take advantage of a post-secondary education option. Well, you have to apply. Oops, I skipped a slide. Here we go. These are some steps in the application process, right? First step, you got to complete the application. I've had students sit in my office and complete an application to Chattanooga State, so it doesn't take very long. It's pretty simple. If you are going to apply to UTC, it takes a little bit longer, right? The application for UTK is going to take a little bit longer because they're going to have some more requirements, right? So some applications are going to be very simple and easy. Some applications are going to take a little bit longer. Some applications have a fee anywhere from $25 to $75 application fee to apply. Some colleges don't have an application fee. And in some cases, you can actually be eligible for a fee waiver if you qualify based upon your financial need. If you're applying to a post-secondary education option, your transcript from high school is going to need to be sent. And maybe you've even started college, right? So maybe you started at Chattanooga State and you're applying to UTK. You'll need to transfer, send those transcripts from your college as well. Now, test scores. Right? Grace, you took the PSAT a few weeks ago, right? And have any of you taken the ACT or a pre-ACT? Okay, but you've heard of it, right? So the ACT and the SAT are standardized tests that colleges have been using for a good while now to make admissions decisions. Now, I need to clarify that because part of my dissertation research involved looking at test score validity studies, there's a lot of information I could share with you about test scores. But I will say this, because access to the test score, to testing for the ACT and SAT has been challenging because of the pandemic. Last year and this year, nearly 2/3 or almost more than 2/3 of all four-year colleges are test optional, meaning you don't have to submit test scores from the ACT or SAT. And that's a really good thing because some people can't really demonstrate their full potential for success through one of those test scores, right? Your grades are the most significant factor in determining what your likelihood of success in college is going to be. Because if you think about it, your grades those are repeated measures over time, right? Your semester grade is going to be an average of all of those homework grades and quiz grades and test grades, right? So that's going to be much more indicative of how well you're going to do in college. Some colleges will have their own institutional placement test. So maybe you don't have to take the ACT, but you have to do an institutional placement test. And then depending upon the program, you might have to write an essay or a statement of purpose or submit recommendation letters from your teachers. But those are some general pieces of the application process. Some application advice. I think it's always good to research all of your options. I believe in telling students to make informed decisions about their college choices. And you may think, oh, well, I'm just going to apply to Chat State because that's all I know. Well, or maybe that's UTC. There are a lot of options. And so you want to make sure that you do the research to figure out, well, maybe there's a college that offers a degree program that you really want to study. It just doesn't happen to be in Chattanooga. It's somewhere else in the state, or maybe it's in Georgia. So that's important. Speak with faculty and staff, right? If you are looking at wanting to go to college, Chattanooga, let's say Chattanooga State or UTC, talk to the faculty and staff there. Ask them about what the expectations are for students. Learn more about what opportunities exist for you to learn both in and outside the classroom. Don't make assumptions. So this is something I often talk about with my students. I will have a student say, well, I don't want to spend much money on college, so I'm going to go to college in state. So, and when I follow up on what they mean by that, they say, well, I know that if I go to college in state, it's going to be cheaper than if I go to college outstate. That's their assumption. Now, the price, the sticker price for a college, let's take the University of Tennessee at Knoxville, because you all are Tennessee residents, assuming there might be somebody from Georgia, but if you're a Tennessee resident, then you qualify for the in-state tuition at the University of Tennessee at Knoxville. And if somebody from South Carolina or even California wants to go to UTK, they're going to have to pay the out-of-state tuition rate, which is much higher. However, when it comes to colleges, most students do not pay that sticker price, right? Most students are probably 98% of students are paying a much more reduced price because of scholarships and financial aid. And so because there are some colleges that might be out of state, but that offer significant financial aid, that the cost to attend that college out of state may be less than it would cost for you to go to UTK in-state, right? So be careful what kind of assumptions you make. Ask questions. I believe there are no dumb questions except the ones that you don't ask. It's always good to ask questions because otherwise you're going to make an assumption if you fail to ask a question. Apply early. So there are some programs, and this happens at Chattanooga State too, especially even in some of those certificate programs that have limited capacities. And by that, I mean, maybe there's only 24 seats in the welding technology classroom. And so once 24 students have been admitted to that program, there's a waiting list. And so you've heard the phrase, probably, you snooze, you lose, right? Anybody heard that one? Right? So if you don't apply early and you apply late, you might miss your opportunity to get into a program. And I always think it's good to have a backup plan, right? What's your plan A, but what are your plan B and plan C? Now, how to pay for college, right? Because most people can't just pull out a checkbook and write a check for college. The federal government has a lot of funds that they offer, both through subsidizing colleges as well as directly to students in the form of grants, loans, and work-study programs. And the FAFSA, F-A-F-S-A, it's a lovely acronym. I like to say the F's in FAFSA do not stand for fun, but the first F in FAFSA stands for free, the free application for federal student aid. So if you know any seniors in high school right now, they either have recently or in the process of filing the FAFSA, because regardless of where you go to college, you have to file the FAFSA, right? If you are a US citizen or eligible permanent resident, you have to file the FAFSA in order to be eligible for federal and state funds, including, anybody heard of the Hope Scholarship, right? Right, even Tennessee has a Hope Scholarship, even Georgia has a Hope Scholarship. I put both of the links here. And by the way, I'll send these slides to Sandy so she can share these with you all. So there's state funding that helps students pay for college. The Hope Scholarship, all you have to have is either a 3.0 GPA or a 21 ACT, and that's going to get you an average of $4,000 per year towards your college education. Now, this one that I also put on here are these employer tuition benefits, which is becoming much more popular these days. But I bet you've all heard of Amazon, Starbucks, and Walmart, right? Well, now workers that work for these companies, they can get their college, a significant portion of their college degrees paid for by their employer. So that's a big bonus. So Amazon, yes, Allie, you have a question.
Okay, so if you have a higher GPA or SAT score or ACT score, do you get more tuition assistance or like funding, or is it like the same if you have like above average or something?
That's a great question. So it depends is often an answer in the college admission world, but let's start with the state funding, right? Anyone in the state of Tennessee, if you graduate from a Tennessee high school with that 21 or 3.0 can qualify for the Hope Scholarship. But students who have a much higher GPA, I think it's a 3.75 and a 29, can qualify for a higher level of funding of the Ned McWhorter Scholarship. But then there are also colleges themselves, the UTCs, the Vanderbilts, the Swannies, the Rhodes. Those colleges have their own institutional funding, right? That helps students pay for college. And many colleges will offer what you hear as merit aid, and based upon, it could be athletic merit, right? You probably watched a football game or two recently this fall, and football players get scholarships to play. Many of them get scholarships to play college football and plenty of other sports. But colleges will often reward students with academic merit scholarships. So the higher your GPA, Allie, the more funding, the more scholarship you're eligible for. And some colleges also, the higher your test score, the more scholarship funding you're eligible for. So the way that I advise students to think about that is you work really hard, you make really good grades, you try to do your best. That's going to maximize your opportunities for admission to colleges, and it's going to maximize your opportunities for scholarship, right? So it'll reduce that overall cost. Other questions? Okay. Outside scholarships. So in addition to the federal and state government and the institutions, there are organizations and corporations and foundations that have scholarships. The Tennessee Concrete Association has a scholarship where students can write an essay about the uses of concrete. I wouldn't know what to say, or very much, I wouldn't have as much to say as maybe some people for the uses of concrete, but the amounts for those scholarships vary widely. You should never pay to be considered for a scholarship, right? If you get an email that says, here, pay us $50 and we're going to get you considered for, no, you shouldn't ever pay to be considered for scholarships. My advice is always that FAFSA, that really fun, but not so fun form. When you are applying for financial aid, which you all do in a few years, you're going to focus first on the FAFSA, and you're going to focus on being eligible for the institutional scholarships. Some colleges, your application for admission is also the scholarship application. Other colleges, after you submit an application for admission, you have to submit another application for scholarships, right? So you want to focus on those before you look at some outside scholarships. But if you can see over here, these search engines, what these are is an alternative to getting on Google and saying, I'm looking for a scholarship for a left-handed history major, right? You could do that and it would take a long time to find some scholarship funding. But with these search engines, you can put in, I am female, I live in Chattanooga, I have this GPA, I want to study this, I was in an altar server, all of these things. And it will then tell you, Grace, these are the types of scholarships that you might be eligible to apply for. And so it'll sort of funnel that information towards you. So those scholarship engines can help save a lot of time. So you've applied to college, you've applied for some financial aid. What next? Well, you have to enroll. That's the term, like you've enrolled in school. And when you're enrolling in college, there's a start term. You identify kind of a start term. And so, for example, most of the seniors that I'm working with right now, their start term in college is going to be fall 2022, because they're going to graduate on from Notre Dame on May 14th, 2022, and then they'll start college in the fall, probably sometime in August. Some schools will require you to pay a deposit to save your spot. Remember how we talked about there's some programs that have limited seating and limited capacity. So you say, yes, I'm coming to your school. You will meet with an advisor to select your courses, right? What classes are you going to take? You're going to register for those classes, maybe take a tour of campus or go to orientation. And colleges have a lot of different advisors and counselors that want to help you be successful. So as you are getting ready to start, that's one of the things that you want to do is you want to make sure you figure out who are those people there, who are the librarians, because they can be very, very helpful, especially when you start writing papers. All right, those are some big overarching people. And let's see, I see college for, thank you, Jake. collegefortn.org is absolutely a great website. And Tennessee Gov College Pays, those are actually very great websites. So thank you for sharing those. I am going to share them in the chat box so that everyone can have them. And what I can also do is add them to my slides so that you will have those. So what questions do you all have about some educational options after you get out of high school?
Don't be shy.
Any questions?
I do. I have a question.
Yes.
So you're at Notre Dame, but what
Yes.
if there's somebody like, I don't know if there's somebody like you in your role that would be available to, for example, for Grace, or maybe somebody that's homeschooled or I don't know if all public schools have one. So where do you go if you don't know, if you want the guidance and you're not sure what to do? Where would you turn to get that help?
Sure, that's a great question. Well, first of all, my contact information is here. And because you have participated in this Rise Up seminar, you all are welcome to reach out to me, and I'm happy to give you, give you some guidance. Most public schools do have someone in the guidance office, a school counselor. The title varies based upon what the name of the school is, but there's someone who can offer some assistance in sort of a college advisor role. There are a number of independent college counselors, some of whom charge for their services, others of whom work pro bono to help individuals. with the process. But as Jake shared, there's a lot of information online to help students navigate the process. Y'all, when I applied to college, there was no email and there was no internet. Forget smartphones, like that wasn't even, like that was a dream, right? It's amazing what you can find on the internet. And College Board is the College Board is the organization that administers the SAT. And they actually, their Big Future website, which I think, so my next slide, I have one more slide, has some resources. Yes, I put the Big Future College Board site on here because they have a lot of great resources on helping students think about, how do I write the college essay? Who do I write, or who do I ask to write a letter of recommendation? How do I put together my resume of activities? So there are a lot of resources available.
Someone dropped a question in the chat to me, and it says, can you go out of country? Does FAFSA, I can never say that right, but you know what I mean. Does that stuff apply in the entry tests if you can go out of the country for college? Does that make sense?
Yes, I think,
I'm not reading her question right.
No, that's great. So awesome. So I'm glad that you asked that. Both of my parents studied abroad in college. I deferred enrollment to Vanderbilt to study in England for a year. All of my siblings also studied abroad. So I'm a passionate believer in having an educational experience outside the United States. And so there's a couple ways that you could, well, there's more than a couple ways that you can do that, but in a broad sense, you can do what a lot of people do, and you'll hear about study abroad, right? Study abroad, where you're in college and then you go spend a semester abroad, or maybe a full year, or maybe it's just a few weeks in the summer, right? But a study abroad program is when you are studying, you're going to get college credit for studying, taking classes in a different country, right? Outside the United States. And those college classes could be taught in English. They could be taught in a foreign language of that country. They could be taught by professors of your college. For example, you go to UTK, could be UTK specific professors that go spend a semester in that country. There are a number of countries, or excuse me, a number of study abroad programs that will allow you to use your financial aid that is based on the FAFSA towards those college experiences, towards those study abroad experiences. However, in addition to that study abroad where maybe you're starting college here, you're going over there to take classes, and then you're bringing those credits back to graduate from an American college and university. That's assuming that you want an American college degree. Every country has its own post-secondary education or higher education system. As part of my graduate degree for my doctorate in education, we visited universities in Belgium, the Netherlands, and Germany, right? It was kind of like going from Atlanta to Chattanooga to Birmingham, but we were, instead of 3 different states, we were in 3 different countries. So if you decide that you want to study at a university that is specific to that country, right? You can apply directly to that university, but your American financial aid eligibility is not going to apply to a college in Spain unless you are doing it through a college in the States. So hopefully that's a general answer to that question. I can be more specific if you have a particular idea that you're thinking about from a study abroad perspective. Yeah.
It looks like that helped.
Oh, good. Yeah. See, look, oh, here's the Tennessee government college pays. Yep. I've got that one on there. What other questions might you have? Was that you raising your hand, Jake? No? Okay.
So I have one more.
Yeah.
Being a very new to master's program student, I have been overwhelmed, and because of that, not really even looked at all of the scholarships out there and available to me, because there are so many. But those websites that you shared a slide or two ago,
Mhm.
that would be where you recommend to kind of help navigate or narrow it down?
So what these websites are, they're scholarship search engines. And, there are so many, like hundreds of thousands of entities that have a scholarship, right? The Rotary Club for Chattanooga, the, the duct tape scholarship, where it's duct tape prom dress. Whoever has the best prom dress made out of duct tape. Those are some that you've heard of, but then there's plenty more that you never heard of. Maybe a foundation wants to give a scholarship to somebody graduating from Cleveland High School, and that's going to go study business or nursing, right? So all sorts of good, generous organizations and corporations and foundations. And it's just, there's so many, it's hard to kind of like, how do you find out which ones are options? And so what these scholarship search engines do is they have done a lot of the culling of the work, and they'll categorize those so that you can kind of put in like, here's who I am, here's some factors, my age, my gender, my subjects that I'm studying. And then they can make some potential matches for scholarships that you might be eligible for, right? So then you can decide, here's one. I might have done a billion Google searches, but I wouldn't have come up with that one. And so you can decide whether or not you wish to apply, right? So sometimes that's like maybe a $500 scholarship. Sometimes there's several $1,000s. Yes, Allie.
If you're like 100% eligible for a scholarship, does that guarantee you any scholarship money from that scholarship?
It's a great question. And the answer is no. It depends. Well, the answer really is it depends, but in some cases that answer is no, right? So there are some scholarships that anyone who meets that criteria gets that funding, right? So in the state of Tennessee, anyone who graduates from the state of Tennessee with a 3.0 or a 21 will get the Hope Lottery Scholarship, right? As long as you meet those eligibility criteria, you get that Hope Scholarship. There are some funds, especially need-based funds, that if you don't apply by the deadline, or once they've awarded all the funds and they run out, there's no more, right? You may have met the eligibility, but maybe you applied after the deadline, or you applied too late. Or maybe you met the eligibility criteria to be considered for this top scholarship, and so did 300 other students, but they only give it to 4. But back to Sandy's question, the FAFSA, #1 place to start, and being aware of any institutional aid. So I always advise students, before you start going through the scholarship search engines and looking to see, do I need to write an essay here or submit an application here? Make sure that you filed the FAFSA and been aware of any other institutional aid that scholarship applications.
Awesome. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I want to respect everyone's time, especially Dr. Aguirre's, for being here and sharing your time with us tonight. It is 8 o'clock or just after. If there are no more questions. No, I am sure. I'm positive, because she shared her contact information. If you think of anything else, because a lot of times that happens, right? You get off of a call and you thought of the question, feel free to reach out to her. I know that Dr. Aguirre will answer any questions that she's able to answer that you might have. So thank you so much for that. That is huge.
Awesome. Yes. And as I said, I'll send these slides to Sandy. So I think she'll be able to share them with you. But don't hesitate to reach out, ask questions, right? Don't make assumptions, ask questions, and keep learning.
Awesome. Thank you again, Dr. Aguirre, and thank you all for being here tonight. I greatly appreciate it, and I hope that this was helpful. Everyone have a good night.
Awesome.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you so much.